Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Full Court Press. Halfway through round one, at least on the Western Conference side of the playoffs, and I think it's been pretty good product so far. Been pretty exciting. Still waiting on Alex Toledo to get in here, our special guest for the evening. But my fellow gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
We good. No more Heat basketball, so I guess we're doing better.
Yeah,
Stress-free basketball. Zero
doing good. Doing good over here. I just want to say, man, that intro music is so cold. Like, damn.
Right? It gets me every single time. It gets me in a good mood. I'm feeling good while listening to it. But let's talk about these playoffs, because I don't necessarily want to compare these playoffs to last year, but personally, I've had a ton of enjoyment watching these playoff games. Like, these have been really good games to watch for the most part, specifically in the Western Conference. Maybe not the games as a whole, but I can tell like these series have a chance of all going the distance. And it's been super, super exciting. We'll talk about the Eastern Conference and the foregone conclusions that we can make and how we think those series are going to play out. But how have you guys felt about these playoffs as a whole, like the way that they've gone so far?
You brought up last year. I remember actually very vividly last year, everybody was talking about how the basketball was like really good because that was the only thing we saw. But there's a difference. The basketball is really good this year as well. And you also have the fans, which like adds a whole nother layer to it. So it's like, yes, the basketball in the bubble last year was like really good. Like it was the top level type of basketball like you see at like the middle of the season, where we were getting that in the playoffs, which you don't really get. You get a lot of like slow feet guys who are tired. This year we're getting the good basketball plus the atmosphere plus, it's actually getting to summertime, so it feels a little different. It's not as depressing. So yeah, it's been really great for the NBA as a whole. The play-in tournament, like we talked about last week, it had a big deal into like getting us ready, into like getting us into the playoff mode. So yeah, the basketball has been good. I will say last year was like probably better in terms of quality, but this year it's just different with the fans. There's also the bad stuff with the fans, but yeah, we don't want to get into that. But the basketball itself is like it's really been fun to watch, and I think the series, as they have all kinds of storylines, and that's pretty much all I wanted out of it.
I'm with Marco. I think the basketball has been great. I don't know if I appreciate. I think I'm enjoying these playoffs more than I was last playoffs. If I'm looking at everything outside of the Heat, because I feel like the reasoning in my head, whether or not I realize it is, might be that this year, because the Heat were never really particularly competitive in their series against Milwaukee, that I was able to just kind of just enjoy the other games without, just being too upset about what's happening with the Heat series. I think the basketball has been great. All of the series on the Western Conference side have been extremely competitive. There's a lot of great storylines throughout all of those series. We're going to get into those, but yeah, the playoffs have been great. I've been enjoying the heck out of them. As our man Alex Toledo drops in.
Yes, I was on mute as I tried to welcome Alex to the show, of course. Anyways, Alex, thank you for dropping in. We're just talking about right now kind of the way that the playoffs have been with fans coming back. Marco brought up a great point. It's been fun to watch. I feel like the energy from the arenas, you can actually feel them, specifically watching the Knicks-Hawks series. It might just be me, but the fans in that series have just been insane on both sides. Like the Hawks fans have been going nuts, and then the Knicks fans are just unbelievable almost every single time the team takes the floor this year. So, yeah, I mean, the fans have been great. Alex, what are your thoughts on the playoffs as a whole so far this year?
I mean, it's been fun, man. Like, I think over the past few years, NBA players have kind of started to take the regular season as almost like just a very long, months-long exhibition. It's just kind of waiting for this, and I think it shows during the playoffs. Like that's nothing new, right? Like it's always an extra level of intensity, but I think now it's like everybody's locked in, so it's fun. It's high stakes. I think people have been antsy to go out there and do stuff, and sometimes do a little bit too much. But the crowds have been fun. I know the Heat crowd. Both games there at the the last two games that it was at American Airlines Arena. just a great time. You know, the fans were absolutely incredible, and we're trying to really will the Heat into wins and just couldn't do it because the Heat didn't care enough apparently. But really, it's been fun, man. It's been everything I've been hoping for, and I think it's only going to get better for real.
Definitely. It's been really fun to watch. We do have a question here from Alex V. And top 3 playoff performers, I guess we're kind of going to cover that to a certain extent. But I want to talk specifically about the younger guys because I feel like in these playoffs, we had a glimpse of it last year with Murray and Mitchell and Jason Tatum taking the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals, whatnot. But I feel like this year more so than ever, there's been a new wave of young talent just taking over playoff games in honestly ways that we previously did not anticipate. So we're going to go around the horn here, honestly, on a few guys. Maybe we'll go more than one. There's probably like 7 or 8 guys that I can think of off the top of my head that have been young guys that really have impressed. But Ariel, we'll start with you. Who's one young guy that has just really impressed you with the way that he's played in these playoffs?
Oh, I get first crack at this. All right. I'm going to go with Luka, man. I just have to. Like, what he's done in that series has been spectacular. He's averaging 33, 8, and 8 on 48, 41, and somehow shooting 40% from the free throw line. That's kind of confusing. If he'd been shooting a little bit better, I mean, his numbers would be absolutely insane. But given that he's shooting that way, I mean, he's a +9 in the series. The Mavs went into LA and took the first 2 games pretty convincingly. Like, I love the disdain that he seems to have for the Clippers. Like, he seems to legit hate them and loves beating them. And it just makes it gives so much more juice to that series. I mean, we all know this. We didn't really need the playoffs this year to let us know that Luka's, just about ready to assert himself as being like the next face of the NBA. But he's coming for that crown, man. Like, he's coming for the throne because that dude is just special. The Clippers have 2 of the best wing defenders in the NBA, 2 of the guys that you would say are probably best suited or right up there with the guys in the NBA that are best suited to slow Luka down, which is what played into my picking the Clippers. I think I picked them in 5 or something in this series. Like, I thought they would just blast the Mavericks this time around. Boy, was I wrong. Like, Luka can get to his spots, get to whatever shot he wants from any part of the court, literally anywhere. It doesn't matter if Kawhi or Paul George are guarding him. Like, his arsenal is so varied and so absurd. Like, his talent is through the roof. I'm worried about the neck strain, and it seemed to hamper him specifically in Game 4. He didn't look like himself. I think he had like 19, 6, and 6 in that game. Even with 19, 6, and 6, you would probably call that a stinker. He's still averaging, like I said, 33, 8, and 8 in the series. So it just goes to show like how absurd that dude is. I hope he gets right. I saw a report today. I think it was from Shams, but it might have been Woj. I'm not sure. One of them reported that Luka had made significant progress just a day later. And with 2 days off in between games, hopefully Luka is able to really get that right and be at 100% because they need him. They can't win the series if he's not at 100%.
Yeah, they definitely cannot. And crazy thing with Luka is he's playing unbelievable. I think he's shooting better from 3 than he is from the free throw line, which is just really weird. If he was just shooting his league average from the free throw line, he would be leading the playoffs in scoring at almost 36 points per game. And he's at 33 right now. He's leaving about like 25 or 2.5 points per game on the floor. Hasn't really cost the team yet, but maybe if you get down into a close game, then things get a little bit different from there. Yeah, Luka's been super impressive. I've loved the way that he's played. Marco, who's one young guy that you have been impressed with this time around?
Ooh, it's getting chilly in here. It's about Ice Tray, Mr. Dill Pickles himself. That dude's been balling. It's crazy watching him out there. And the thing that's impressed me most is that he's surpassed even people who are fans of Trey's expectations of him. People didn't think that he would survive in the playoffs, and I myself am not the biggest Trey fan, but I get what he does on the floor. Like I know what he's trying to do, and like even in the playoffs, he hasn't been doing as much of that stuff as that annoyed us during the regular season. He's adapted because they're not going to call that many fouls in the playoffs. That's a problem that Lou Williams had throughout his career. Is he never got used to the physical nature of the playoffs, and he would always be kind of relegated until like 10 minutes a game. Like even those Clippers series, I remember they would like not call the fouls as much, and he'd be frustrated. The thing that Trey's done is he hasn't gotten frustrated about that. He's like taken the physicality. He's like went up to these dudes like Taj Gibson. Like he was talking mad trash to him last game, which was pretty awesome. Speaking of Taj Gibson, I want to talk about this real quick. Like he does the most physical stuff out there that never gets called, which is absolutely crazy to me. Old man privilege, I guess. But back to Trey. Yeah, he's taking that physicality and he hasn't like deterred him at all. He still gets to the rim like crazy. The Knicks have no answer for like a basic pick and roll, any kind of pick and roll like they run at them. It doesn't matter. He still like knows how to pick them apart. And when they
so much for that defense.
Exactly. Like if the point of a playoff defense is you're able to adjust. The Knicks help way too much at the nail. Like they like help on his drives too much or too little. Like you can't have a defense that set itself to one thing. That's Mike Budenholzer had that problem early, like his first 3 playoff series. He would never like change his defensive like schemes or anything. He'd run whatever worked in the regular season.
The old days.
Like, yeah. But the regular season's like way different than the playoffs. You know, like that's what Trey did. He adjusted to it. And like they haven't adjusted to him at all. So he's still like doing crazy stuff out there because, I mean, you're not going to stop him from running his basic stuff. What is he supposed to do? And yeah, I love watching him play. And shout out to Trey. He stepped up. Shout out to him doing it in MSG. He's going to get one more crack at it. I hope he closes it out at MSG because that would be hilarious to watch. But yeah, I've loved watching him play throughout the playoffs, which I didn't think I would at all, really.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like Trey's never been my cup of tea, but just he's been such a dog throughout these playoffs. Kind of the way he was when he was at Oklahoma too. He's like, all right, I'm ready to backpack this team if I need them to. And he at times he's been able to do it, but I'm not discrediting Atlanta. They have one hell of a team there. Like we'll talk about it in a little bit, but we kind of can come to the conclusion that it's going to be Hawks Sixers in the second round. I want to talk about that series. Alex, one young guy that you have been impressed with before we get to a few of these comments here.
So I think now that you guys took Luka and Trey out the way, I think I'm going to have to go with Ja. And I guess, the 1B there would be Dylan Brooks because I don't think of him as like an up-and-coming star. But, he's definitely been mad impressive too. And part of the reason why they're in the position that they're in right now, just kind of pushing the Jazz in general. But Ja is incredible, man. Like the fact that he's doing what he's doing, in his first real year in the playoffs, I mean, he's incredible. Like defenses know that he wants to get to the rim. And it's not like Zion, right, where you can't do anything about him getting to the rim. Like, it doesn't matter. But Ja is skinny, not huge. And obviously he can jump out the gym. Anybody knows that. But it's just like the way that, defenses and with Gobert there, right? Like with Rudy Gobert there as a rim protector, he just still gets to what his spots has become pretty effective, I feel like, with those floaters. And he has little counters here and there. He's just really good at reading the game, and I think that's all kind of a theme here that the guys that we're talking about, Luka, Trey, Ja, like these guys are elite at they're elite playmakers, they're elite at reading the game and reading the court, and they're really good at it at a really young age. Like usually that's the type of stuff that takes forever for younger guards, and these guys have picked it up on the fly, and I think it's just kind of something that's going to start happening in the NBA more because we've transitioned to, I think a lot of times like similar stuff is happening and guys are starting to pick up on those reads quicker and quicker, and guys are coming into the league with a cross-court pass in their bag. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that, just like these really skilled playmakers. And these three are all, I feel like, doing an incredible job in their early years of just kind of getting what they want in the playoffs.
Because they'll all do that next year.
I love how Ja is just trying to bang on Rudy like at least once a game. He's just trying to end him. It hasn't worked yet, but he's trying.
He'll get there. But seriously, Ja was the person that I wanted to talk about, but I had some backups here just in case. He's just been unbelievable, and I'm excited to watch that game tonight because if they're able to win, I mean, if you push the Utah Jazz to 6 games, I think that's a win. I mean, honestly, getting one win in the playoffs is a win for the Memphis Grizzlies already, like the way that they've gotten there. But being able to do it against a team where stylistically you match up horribly with them. Like you're not supposed to be able to put points in the paint. And they had, 68 points in the paint in one game? Like they are taking it to the Jazz's strength. That's something that I didn't know that the Grizzlies would be capable of. And you look at Ja, I mean, he's the number 2 scorer in the playoffs so far.
I didn't even know that.
He's number 2 at 33.7. I mean, he had that 47-point game, which I think people kind of brushed over because it's the Grizzlies. But 47 points against a team where all they do is protect at the rim and all you do is go at the rim. Like, he's been insane. Looking at his non-restricted area paint attempts, so pretty much like the floaters, maybe the short mid-range, he's shooting 50% on those on 8.7 attempts a game. He's just getting to his spots, and he's scoring. It's honestly unbelievable the way that he's been playing this year. I'm super happy for Ja. And then obviously Dillon Brooks, he's 11th in scoring. He's averaging 27 points per game in these playoffs, which once again is insane. And he's taken that step for Memphis because they don't have anybody where it's late shot clock and you need someone to just get their own bucket. They didn't have anybody, but Dillon Brooks, with his mentality, he thinks every Dillon Brooks shot is the best shot on every single possession.
He thinks he's the best player on the floor.
And sometimes he is. Like, I watched him give Jimmy Butler like 22 points in one quarter. Sometimes he can be that kind of guy. So credit to Dillon Brooks, credit to Ja. They've been unbelievable. I just want to say credit to Jason Tatum. Going and getting 50 points against the Nets and winning against this big three is just unbelievable. Rewatching highlights from that, he's just playing at his own pace. He's just having fun out there. It's fun to watch him play right now. But the duo that I want to touch on is DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. Because these two guys, CP3 has been in and out of the lineup, and I guess that's kind of why Devin Booker's been relatively inefficient. But he's averaging 25, 6, and 5. But he's shooting like 9 free throws a game. So adding that to his bag and being able to will some points for his team has been really good. But the player that I really want to talk about is DeAndre Ayton, because his numbers are just unbelievable. He's scoring on 89. He's taking 9.8 restricted area attempts a game, and he's scoring on 89.7% of those against Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond and Marc Gasol, whoever it may be. I mean, that's just unbelievable what DeAndre Ayton's doing. Like, he's just being so efficient, taking that step. I think Phoenix is in a really good place moving forward, whether they win this series or not. They have Devin Booker, who with Chris Paul, I think will get his efficiency up to end this series, and DeAndre Ayton, who has just proven he can bang with the best of them. And being able to do that, that's a big deal because there's not many centers that can go and get you 20 and 14 extremely efficiently in the playoffs nowadays.
He was a real question mark coming in, I feel like.
He was. I thought he was. I was not a big DeAndre Ayton guy, but defensively, he's been fantastic, and offensively, super efficient. Like, credit to him, man.
Simplified his game. Like, they made it easy on him, I feel like. They're just getting him in the right spots, and he's been really good, man. Like, he does not look flustered out there. Like, I'm pretty surprised, and not – like, he's always had the talent, but, you know, just putting it together that quickly and doing it against, like, the defending champs is pretty impressive, man.
The best thing that could have happened to him was getting Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul is like a magic potion for big men.
What about Andre Drummond matched up against him?
That's where I was going to go. I was going to say DeAndre Ayton is like the antithesis of Andre Drummond. He's like the opposite, right? Like,
he's what Drummond thinks he is.
Andre Drummond couldn't make a layup if the Lakers season depended on it. And DeAndre Ayton shooting, would you say 88%, 89% in the paint?
Pretty much 90% at the rim.
That's absurd.
On 10 attempts a game.
Wow,
it's just unbelievable. It's
his hands are like underrated. They're like Jokic, like soft as hell.
Yeah. While we're touching on this series, like, I feel like we should shout out Cameron Payne. I feel like low key under the rug a little bit. I feel like he's been really good for them. With Chris Paul being a little bit limited in the first couple of games, right? Like, he's been sitting for longer stretches than I feel like he normally sits for. And he doesn't look like he's at 100%, but Cameron Payne's averaging something like, I want to say about 15, 16 points per game. I'm just looking at the raw numbers right now.
Wow.
I feel like he's just settled them down in the non-Chris Paul minutes. Like, he's done a good job of continuing to just run the offense while Chris Paul sits. I remember Cameron Payne was like barely an NBA level player.
Bro, he was out.
He went from being Gabe Vincent to what he is now.
Yeah. There's hope for everyone, man.
He looked lost back like before, because I think he ended up going overseas and getting some time there right before he came back here. And he just plays with so much more poise. Like, he just plays so much smarter. I feel like when he was there, he got a shot in OKC where he was drafted, and then what was it, Chicago? I feel
I
like
think he played for
he was
Chicago.
never able to set himself in a rotation there. Like teams didn't
Couldn't
trust
get
him.
minutes like over Michael Carter Williams.
Winning teams,
He
young teams, he looked
He
bad.
just never had a skill. He never had one translatable skill. There was nothing that he was specifically good at that you could say we put him on the court and we need him to do this. But he's kind of just become a solid backup point guard who's
Yeah.
steady, who
Big time.
gets under your skin. My girlfriend is a Laker fan and she hates Cameron Payne, and I don't blame her. If I were her, I would hate him as well. Like he's like kind of an irritant out there. And he just seems to push all the right buttons most of the time. At the very least, he has in the playoffs so far. So he's been really good. I just wanted to shout him out there because I think he's been an X factor for them in this series, really.
One thing that I've noticed he does really well is when they pressure up the ball, he does a really good job of turning the corner on the screen. Like Marc Gasol, he dusts him all the time, which is crazy because Marc Gasol takes great angles on screens. But like he's just taking it right to the rim. Like it doesn't matter. He took LeBron like off the dribble the other day. And I was like, dang, this kid came from shooting 22% when he was with Chicago from 3. So like being in these big moments with the Suns, which is crazy.
Credit to him. That's not easy to do to come back like that. I do want to get to a few of the comments here. One from Pedal Products said, I'm too lazy to research if it's possible, but if you add Steven Adams to the Heat this offseason, I think it would be a perfect fit. At least I think so.
Hard.
I'll let you guys go
Right?
around the horn.
Hard pass.
Yes or no? I think he has like
Absolute-
14 million per year. Or is it 17?
I think he's at like a little higher. I might be wrong, but regardless of what it is, that's a hard no for me. I think he got like 4 years, 64. I might be wrong on that. That would be about 18 per.
4 years, 100.
What?
For Steven Adams?
Pass.
There's no way. No, he got
looking at it
extended
right now.
recently from the Pelicans. Is that from the Pelicans?
Yeah,
or the Thunder?
this past off season with the Pelicans.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's loading up for me, but I see it here. Oh shit! The
4
is
years,
hard right now.
100. I might have just developed an ulcer. Like there's no way. There's no. You couldn't. There's not. They don't have enough assets on that team unless they were willing to attach Zion Williamson to get me to take Steven Adams.
Okay, so is that a consensus no on that, Marco?
Oh
No?
wait, hold on. It says he's a free agent. He's gonna be a free agent.
He got extended. I don't know exactly where it is. But we'll find
Why
out.
is this slow track updating with the extension? They're usually on top of that.
I'm positive there was an extension as part of the trade when they got him last summer.
Yeah, and I saw the headline here. That's why I'm confused. Yeah, Steven Adams agrees to 2-year, $35 million extension, and that was
Okay, there we go.
2020.
So he's got like 2 years and 17 and a half or something like that left. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm good
a
on that.
hard no. Is that a hard no for you, Alex?
Yeah, hard no. I mean, it would be something else if we were talking about him as like a backup 5 as a free agent on a fair deal.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, non-shooters. I feel like that just can't work at this point. Next question from Nork FN. This summer, Jimmy Butler is eligible to sign a 4-year, $181 million extension. So it's going to go 41, 44, 47, 50. Would you guys do this extension? It is going to be expensive. And I think that takes him from 33 up until 36.
Yep.
Around the horn, yes.
Yes.
Then you got to do it.
Don't really have a choice, right?
You have
Yeah.
to. And people who are looking at the last year and freaking out at the 50 mil, that's a colossal expiring contract in the last year of the deal. I'm not saying they would trade him. I'm just saying like it's not as crippling as you might think. I think if they were to give him that extension, which I think is likely, you're probably swinging for the fences this summer. You're active in the trade market. You're active on the free agency market. And hopefully, I mean, the plan must be you're adding that third guy to where you just pay Jimmy. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, by that point, they'll have Kawhi, Levine, Beal. It's fine.
Zion. Yeah.
Honest, Donovan Mitchell, what everybody,
Aaron
according
Fox.
to his Twitter at least. So yeah, I guess you don't really have a choice with that Jimmy extension, right? Like if you don't do that, then you're just hitting the reset button, which is valid, but I don't think that's what the Heat are going to do, especially when you have a guy like Jimmy Butler in the building. You're just going to build around him, which makes the most
Can't
sense.
imagine they fuck around with like the money, right?
They're not doing it again.
Yeah, I think they learned their lesson for sure.
I mean, shit. Philadelphia tried that, and look what happened.
exactly.
Hey, Philadelphia's tried a lot of things.
So I guess since we're on the Heat and we kind of have, we'll just go to the Heat here again. Nork FN with another question here. I think we should get John Collins for our 4 spot. Anyone agree? I'm not opposed to that at all.
I don't think anyone's going to be opposed to it.
I don't know if Atlanta lets him move unless they're getting another piece in return, though.
It might be a sign and trade type deal. Maybe they're interested in Duncan Robinson if they want more white guys who can shoot and can't play any defense. I don't know, but
Kevin Huerter's enough for them.
okay. Well, in that case, it's going to be kind of hard unless they're just willing to let him walk because he's restricted.
Yeah, if they let him walk, shame on them.
I think he fits beautifully next to Bam. Absolutely. I would
fit as a
absolutely
four.
give him 27, 28, whatever the Heat have in cap space. I'd do it. I'm doing it.
That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for someone who relies on others to kind of create opportunities for him. I just think the Heat's money would be better allocated towards someone who can actually make stuff or create stuff for themselves. But once again, I'm not opposed to John Collins. If you can get a young player like that in the building, at the worst case, him and Tyler Hero becomes a very appealing trade package for him.
That's where I'm at. I like Collins. He would be an awesome fit as a long-term guy.
Well, you actually slandered John Collins mid-season, Alex.
Yeah, man, because I don't want,
I was just thinking that.
I was John Collins. Did you say mid? Was mid the adjective that we attached to him?
I did say mid.
Didn't he go off right after that too in that game?
Oh yeah, no, directly.
That third quarter was crazy.
Immediately after, I was doing my tongue-in-cheek stuff, but no, really, what it was about was more what you guys were saying just now. It's like I prefer getting a guard, someone who's a real, the things we've talked about, either a shot creator, a playmaker, someone who's a high-level player in those things. And Collins will be nice. I just know that they don't have the money for both things. And maybe I would take Collins over Lonzo as somebody to sign, just because I don't think of Lonzo as that guy. Like, again, I like Lonzo as a player, but I don't think of him as that shot creator. So for something like that, like let's say the Lowry thing doesn't happen, they don't have a shot at somebody else that you really, really want up there as a high-level free agent or whatever, I would go for Collins. Like, I think that's money well spent.
He's young.
I wouldn't. I don't know about 28 mil, but I would definitely give him a good amount of money. I'll probably go north of 20 if that's what he wants.
I feel like they would match, though. I feel like if the offer,
if that's fine though, you can get Atlanta to match that. Feel free, Atlanta.
But here's what I'm saying: like, if the goal in this whole thing is to actually acquire John Collins and not just to strap Atlanta with a 20-something mil contract that they maybe don't want, you get 22 is going to get matched. 24, I think, gets matched. I think you have to go above 25. But I was going to ask you guys, and Alex kind of got to it here. I'm also not on the Lonzo train. I like him as a player. I think he's a fine young player. I don't feel like he fits what the Heat need and what they're looking for. I don't really feel like he addresses very many of the Heat's weaknesses. He isn't really a downhill type of attacking guard, like Alex said. He doesn't collapse the defense and then spray. He just finds open guys from the perimeter. And what he does is he moves the ball east-west very well, but he's not really a north-south type of basketball player. So what I was going to ask was, would you guys rather give, if everything were equal, let's say it was 25 per, let's say it was 23 to 27 per, would you rather pay Lonzo Ball or John Collins?
It's tough. I said Collins, but now I'm like thinking about it again, and it's tough. I think I'll stick with Collins just because the size thing. I'm a little bit traumatized right now by the Bucks and what they did to the Heat, having been at both of those games, but. I could go back and forth. Like, I could be swayed into saying Lonzo there. I just don't think, like, even Oladipo, right? Like, and who knows what's going on with his health. And we knew that he wasn't going to be like an all-star level player. And but at least you knew that you can get him to attack the rim and spray out to shooters and play good defense. Lonzo's basically, to me, in my eyes, like a high-level role player. He's like a high-level 3-and-D guy, but he's got great size. Like, that's a great high-level role player to have. It would be nice if you had already that shot creator, that bucket getter, like a Levine, you know what I'm saying? It just in a theoretical sense, that then having Lonzo there would make sense. But I think they're missing something there for him to. And then we're gonna end up just having the conversation for the next 4 years about why Lonzo isn't the right guy and this and that. I'm good on that, man.
Yeah,
I
think the same dude. And I could be like Alex said, I could be swayed either way. And yeah, we'll get into that more in the off season, like free agency stuff down the line. But yeah, I really don't mind either player. They're both the same type of dude either way to me. Like, they're both very inconsistent. Like, John Collins had 0 points 2 games ago. Like, let's not pretend he's like this messiah who's going to save the team and all that.
Mid.
So the slander continues. But yeah, I'm indifferent. Like I'd be fine with either one of them. I think John Collins fills a hole that's probably tougher to find around the NBA in terms of big that fits next to Bam, as opposed to Lonzo, where he's a really good player. He's gotten much better from three. He's a really good defender, but he does something like 3-and-D is something that you can replace for the most part, especially at a cheaper cost. So John Collins probably has the more unique skill set, which I would take. But once again, they're pretty much similar. Trying to think any other questions that we want to get to here. Do you guys think anyone is going to give Dennis Schroeder the max? No. I don't think so.
I hope the Knicks do it, but I don't think they will.
If the max is a lot of money for Dennis Schroeder. Like he turned down what, $20 million from the Lakers? I think he probably should have taken that, although he's been playing well in the playoffs.
They offered him 20 mil.
Wasn't that what it was? Like 3 years, 60 mil?
What?
Crap.
And he didn't take 3 over 60? 60 over 3, rather?
Oof. Okay, so Adam Barai,
do the
our
research.
good friend. So he texted me a question that I believe was tweeted by Chef Trilly, but this is a tough question. I'm going to let you guys answer this. I might stay mute on the point, but this is word for word what the text message says. Question: Kawhi and Kyle Lowry, of course, say they want to come to Miami and they're ready to commit right now. Are you trading Bam to make that happen?
Yes.
Oh no!
I just want to say, I love Bam Adebayo. He's top 2 favorite players of mine in the NBA. I love everything you've done for us, Bam. If we have to move him to make a Kawhi deal work, I'm doing it.
I mean, this team's probably – it depends what, else you're getting around them. But, yeah, I can't say no, and I love Bam too. But you get Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry with Jimmy Butler, that team is going to be tough as hell to beat.
I'm going to counter. I'm telling Lowry to fuck off if Kawhi wants to come here. Keeping Bam.
Well, I don't think you could get – I think the whole thing
It's
is
a package deal.
If he's going to leave his hometown, he probably wants to play with his buddies.
Oh, if he cared about Lowry so much, he wouldn't have left in the first place. He's coming over here to play with Jimmy and Bam.
Let's assume for a second.
That's just me copping out.
Let's assume for a second that it's a package deal. Alex, you have to answer the question. We're holding your feet to the fire. It's a package deal.
I'm not trading Bam.
It doesn't happen if you don't move Bam in a deal for Kawhi. Do you do it?
I hate these scenarios, man. I hate these scenarios.
That's crazy.
I kind of love it.
I'll let the front office answer this question.
Well, look, that's the thing. That's what I was about to say. They already kind of did. Remember when he was before he was traded to the Raptors, that report came out that he were not really. Oh, hold on. I have this wrong. I think I have this wrong. I think that was the last time they were willing to throw in Bam. I was going to say that they weren't, but
they were for Kawhi.
I think I'm remembering that wrong.
Justice, Jay Rich, and
they were willing to throw in Bam.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind. Fuck. I'm not doing it, man.
It's such a tough question because, you want Bam to be great, but at the same time, you want to win with Jimmy. And if you get Kyle and Kawhi, that's probably as close as you'll get to beating that Brooklyn Nets or the Milwaukee Bucks as currently constructed, which is crazy to say, but it's a very interesting question. But we won't do too much transaction talk. There's going to be more off-season episodes as we move further on into the playoffs. We'll have a ton of people on to talk all that good stuff. So we're going to do a random stat here before we get to the playoff series and how we think the rest of these are going to shake out. So the Mavs in this series are shooting 43.2% from three through the first 4 games. Guess the last time that a team shot that high of a percentage through the playoffs, minimum 4 games.
What was the percentage? Say one more time.
43.2% from three. So it would be a team's entire playoffs, minimum 4 games, that they shot 43.2% or more throughout an entire playoffs. Not just one series, an entire playoffs. The last time.
The San Antonio Spurs 2014.
Is that your guess? Is that the guess here?
That's my guess. 2014 Spurs.
Marco?
I was going to say that, but if I don't have that choice, I'll go with last year's Dallas Mavericks. Why not?
Okay, last year's Dallas Mavericks. Alex, any idea? This year's no. The Bucks are actually only shooting 35% from three. They shot worse than from three.
They had
Fake
like two
number.
stinkers. They had like two stinkers in that
Yeah, they
series.
did.
No,
They really did. They just
no, they didn't.
they hit it when it counted. The Heat shot better from 3 than the Bucks.
Then how did they lose by 25 every game? Oh my god, I'm
No
so mad, man.
guts.
Okay,
What's
so we
the-
got
what's the answer
2007
again?
Warriors, 2016 Cavs. That's actually a good guess. I'm pretty sure they were up there. No, it was actually the 2010 Celtics who shot 46.5% from 3 over a 9-game span.
46.5. How did their play? Wait, does that mean that they got eliminated in the second round?
Round 2.
They lost to, was it
The Magic.
LeBron? The Magic?
No.
No, the Magic.
10. Was it the Pacers? I don't know who they lost to.
It was the
Bulls?
Magic.
I don't know.
No. 2010, I believe, was a Lakers
I
title
thought they made
over
the finals.
the Celtics, right?
They made the finals 09.
No. That was was the Magic. They
2010,
probably lost-
2011 is what
They-
it was. So the 11 Celtics.
Oh, that's the team
Yeah.
that lost to the Heat in the second
Yeah.
round.
Okay, so they lost to the Heat. Yes, that team shot 46%, which is
Wow.
crazy.
That's
So
wild.
my bad. The 2010, 2011 Celtics. Let me rephrase that.
Mm.
So that team shot like that. And before that, the only other time that it's been done in NBA history was the 2004-2005 Suns, who shot 43.6% over a 15-game span, which is actually absurd to withstand or sustain that for a very long period of time. So that was just insane to me. The Mavs are just shooting at such an unsustainable rate right now. Looking at the actual numbers, I guess we'll use this to segue into Mavs Clippers because the series is 2-2. My Western Conference Finals pick is still alive in the Western Conference with the Clippers, but the Clippers shot 41.1% from 3 before the playoffs. I believe they've been shooting around like 36.5. So they're 4.6% under their 3-point average, and the Mavs are 7.1% above their 3-point average for the year. So if regression continues there, obviously we want Kawhi to come to Miami, whatever. But the Clippers still should win this series, especially with Luka not feeling 100%. Originally, I said Clippers in 5 or 6. I did not give Luka enough credit. Who are you guys rocking with for this entire series? Mavs or Clippers?
Take it, Alex.
I picked the Clippers before, and if I'm being real, I put money down on them. But
Ooh,
just
I
because,
like it.
no, because I put it. It was a specific the exact series finish because those are the only odds I liked. It was for the Clippers to win 4-2, but now I'm not sure. Like I know they brought it back. They did what they needed to. Those first 2 games, like what Ariel was talking about, it turned me. Like I knew Luka was a great elite player already, but the way that he was doing it to them, where you could tell he took it personal that they tanked those games. And I believe in the karma of the basketball gods. And because of them tanking, I think the Mavericks might take this. I think they might take this. I think Luka can carve up any coverage they put out there. I know they're playing small to try to keep Luka from, cooking their bigs possession after possession. But I don't know. I just think this Clippers team kind of has maybe less guts than the Heat. And they just shown us that they're not a team that can be trusted. Like I just think every time I feel good about them and they're like, okay, they've got something there, they take a shit on themselves. And again, I know it's just bad timing because they brought it all the way back. I'm a little bit shook by what I've seen from them after last year and then those first 2 games where it's like, I don't know. There's not enough guys attacking the rim. It feels like a whole lot of jump shooting. And I don't know. It feels like Luka is the alpha here, right? And I don't know if that's great analysis, but I've just kind of lost my trust in the Clippers if I had any, remaining.
Ooh, so after winning 2 games, you lost your trust.
I'm a little bit shook. Like if I was a Clippers fan, I would be shook.
There's like 6 Clippers fans. I don't even know if they're all that shook, if I'm being completely honest. Like being able to win those 2 games on the road against a really good home crowd in the Mavericks, I think that was very, very impressive. Kawhi and PG have been playing relatively well. Or Kawhi's been playing
great.
Arguably the best player in the playoffs so far. PG has been playing pretty well this series. I still think the Clippers are able to get this. Marco, who's winning this series?
I think it's the Clippers. That Lucas stuff with the neck, I don't trust that. That type of stuff lingers like a long time. Like Bam Adebayo was like he was still struggling with that even throughout like the year. He still wears that the shirt underneath. Like Anthony Davis, that happened to him too in New Orleans. It took him a long time. This isn't the kind of stuff that like goes away like after a couple of days rest. Sure, you may not feel the effects like as badly as if it were a back-to-back or something like that. I just think that's way too much. You could say you don't trust the Clippers, and I get that, but I think I trust their offense to get to the rim like they have recently. Like Kawhi and Paul George are shooting like 80% at the rim, and those are like wing guys. That's insane stuff. Like Kawhi's shooting 75% from the field throughout this series, which has gone like under the radar because of how good like Luka's been. But I don't trust anybody on the Dallas Mavericks to like stop them at all.
I feel like that's indirect Kristaps Porzingis slander, and I'm welcoming it.
Yeah, he's so bad at help defense now. That used to be his thing. He used to be like a really good lateral dude for a dude that was 7'6". But he doesn't have that same mobility because of the injuries, and he's not as good of a help defender. And he's like being played out on the perimeter. They put Nick Batum into the starting lineup after that first half in Game 3, and that really turned the series around. I don't know how they came back from down 19 after the first quarter of that game, and that's a different Clippers team. It is. They've made the right adjustments. Their rotations are better than the Mavs' rotations have been. The Mavericks' shooting is finally falling down to earth. I think it's curtains for the Mavs.
So are you saying Clippers in 6?
Yeah. We're getting the hobo sweep.
I hope so. Make me some money.
I don't have too much more to add on the series. I think you guys make great points. What I will say is that number one, I agree with Marco in that I'm very concerned about Luka's neck. I heard the report, like I'd mentioned before today, that he's feeling better and whatever. I want to see it in Game 5, but if he's not at 100%, like they just don't have enough. Nobody can stop. Nobody can slow down Kawhi and Paul George on that. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith's a solid defender. J. Rich, solid defender. Maxi Kleber, solid defender. None of them are stopping Kawhi or Paul George, especially if they have it going. Nobody's stopping them regardless. But I will say in that series, in the 2 wins, I think the key to the series for the Mavericks is Tim Hardaway Jr. He's so mercurial. In the 2 wins, he's averaging 24.5 points per game on 63% shooting. In the 2 losses, 8 points per game on 23% shooting.
Wow. That sounds about right.
It's absurd. Like the difference is insane. 24.5 to 8. It's a massive difference in production. Yeah. So if Tim Hardaway Jr. has it rolling, the Mavs are in a much better position.
I think that's what it comes down to, right? Is like who you pick in this series comes down to whether you believe in what the Clippers adjustments and what they've done over the past couple of games, sticking and continuing on throughout the rest of the series. And I think that's where I have my doubts. The health thing is huge with Luka, but I'm over here wondering if the threes are going to keep falling, and they have had improved rim pressure, like Marco was talking about, Kawhi and Paul George getting to the rim more. I guess my thing is when I try to imagine the series and try to project it going forward, I imagine a lot of close games, and that's why I get a little bit worried, just because I feel like Luka is so much better at getting to spots if given that he is healthy, it's just kind of getting good looks for the team. And it probably is going to fall on the hands of the rest of the guys. They're making enough shots to help Luka out and take pressure off him, and so they're not just over helping every time. But really, I'm just a little bit shook, right? Like I wonder if Kawhi and Paul George are just gonna revert right back to their bad habits of just kind of taking questionable jump shots at the end of games. And I think that's where I get a little bit worried if I'm a Clippers fan.
I think your qualms can be like simmered down with the fact that they're getting to the rim so easily. Like, if you're going to need a bucket late in a game like that, there's like nobody who's going to deter them from getting inside. Like, that's it.
Yeah. So I want to go to the team that technically the Clippers should be playing in the next round, which would be the Utah Jazz, or the Clippers or Mavs. I just have the Clippers winning the series. But the Jazz and Grizzlies. So are we all in agreement here that it should be Utah winning this series still? Because they've been good games, and the Grizzlies were able to battle back from being down 13 the entire game last game, and they were able to come back. They're still at home tonight. So do you guys see any way in which the Grizzlies win the series, or is it still Jazz all the way through?
Should
The
be Utah.
Jazz, yeah, the Jazz have too much shooting that the Grizzlies don't. They have more consistent shooting. The Grizzlies don't have that. They can get like hot for like 18 threes, which is like nothing for Utah, who averaged that many during the season.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff scares me. Donovan Mitchell's not even at 100%, and they're like winning these past few games. I just love the fact that the Grizzlies are fighting the way they are. Like,
Yeah.
they weren't expected to be here, and they're doing this. They're like scaring the number 1 seed. Like, that's all you can ask for them, and that's like their fans should be happy about that. In the moment, they probably won't. They'll be like, "Oh, we let this game slip. Oh, we almost came back last game." You know, just enjoy the fact that you made it this far. When you were not even supposed to make the playoffs, you were the 9th seed in a regular year. You wouldn't have made it, like, if there was no play-in tournament. So just be glad that your team's gotten the spotlight. For the Jazz, this is kind of like a tinkering kind of series. Like, you can work around the edges. Like, how are we gonna fix some of the rim pressure that they're pulling on us? Are we gonna put different defenders out there? Can we change our scheme around? Which they've been very good at, like, changing schemes for like certain teams. So Evil Danny Green, I like that.
That is one hell of a comment. That is.
Yeah, it's the best one today.
I always see Lionel Richie, but I guess he does look
Lionel
like Richie. That's
Somebody
crazy.
said he looks like Kenny Powers, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good, actually.
Bro, Evil Danny Green is so
Evil Dan, that is beautiful.
You guys haven't seen that? That's like
I've never seen
thing.
Evil Danny Green. No, I just see slander, or not slander,
never
just
seen
comments on Dylan Brooks' mentality and how it's Dylan Brooks time, dash Dylan Brooks. Like, that's just a microcosm of how he is as a basketball player.
Shit,
But
is he a free agent?
no, they got him on. It's like 4 years.
Oh
They
yeah,
paid like 40 million or something, like a really good contract, like the Jay Rich contract.
could have
what
given
he's
him the
on.
mid-level, man.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I guess Utah should win that series, but credit to the Grizzlies. This experience for them is going to be invaluable moving forward. Suns Lakers, I actually want to talk about this series. Another game tomorrow. It sounds like AD is going to be out for sure game 5. It doesn't look like he's going to be healthy for the rest of this series. The Suns haven't even played their best basketball. Devin Booker's been shooting 40% from the field and 20. He's been shooting worse from 3 than Ja Morant. And it's still 2-2. And CP3 has not been healthy every single game. This is interesting. I personally said Lakers in 6 when the Lakers were healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously, AD is not healthy anymore. How are we feeling about this series? We'll try to go through these relatively quickly, but how are we feeling about these series?
I had Suns in I don't remember if I said 6 or 7. I've kind of waffled on that prediction a little bit, but I've had the Suns winning this series the whole way through. Like I had said on the last show, I think they're more malleable in that they can play and be effective offensively, whether the game's played quickly or whether they want to slow it down and play a half-court style of game. Chris Paul is one of the best, in the NBA, similarly to LeBron in terms of like controlling the pace of the game and kind of just being the puppet master out there on the court. He doesn't seem like he's at 100%, but like we'd mentioned earlier, guys like Cameron Payne stepped up big time. DeAndre Ayton's playing out of his mind. It sounds like AD is unlikely to play game 5. So given that, I think the Suns are primed to knock the defending champion Lakers out of the playoffs in the first round.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Alex?
it's getting ugly. It could get ugly for the Lakers here. Like, I don't really trust a lot of those guys. If I'm a Lakers fan, like, I'm looking at it like, this team without LeBron has a lot of time has a hard time generating offense. And, if I'm a Lakers fan, I'll be looking at it from the perspective, thank God, we at least have Schroeder, like somebody else who can handle and dribble. I know he hasn't been awesome, but they didn't have that last year, that element. So he's somebody who could step up and take a higher load, higher usage with AD out. And, Kuzma's gotten better since last year, but like they can still pull it off. But without AD having to play at Phoenix, like this Ariel was saying, like this is such a good team at keeping the pace of the game, keeping everything in control, and just kind of beating you with both ends of the floor, beating you very very deliberately, I feel like. And Devin
They're
Booker
technicians in the half court.
Yeah, and even though Devin Booker hasn't been efficient, it's really impressive how under control I feel like he is on both ends of the floor. He looks very poised out there. So I could definitely see Phoenix taking the next game, and they got to hope AD comes back because I really just don't trust a lot of the Lakers. And, to really generate offense for, throughout the whole game, like the Suns defense was pretty good, pretty damn good all year. So I would be a little bit nervous if I was a Lakers fan, man.
I think I had the Lakers in 6. I don't know. I'm not feeling too
Same.
good about that at all right now, especially with the Anthony Davis stuff. Like that kind of stuff, like is scary. It was surprising to see like the Suns respond like they did. But that's the kind of stuff you love to see as like a fan. Like your team growing in those kind of situations. Like you're put into those playoff atmosphere. You don't know how your team's going to respond. And like the Chris Paul stuff, like if his shoulder's feeling better, like that's scary to the Lakers. If he can get that mid range going, like where he's like lethal at, that's going to be good enough for the Suns because they're a good enough team around him. Like they can support that kind of night where he's just scoring 16 a night. Like that's his averages. Like whenever you get Devin Booker scoring an efficient 25, that's scary. That's going to be a 10-point win at least every night for the Suns, especially with DeAndre Ayton putting up 20 and 10 in his sleep. And nobody's going to be stopping DeAndre Ayton against the rim like we talked about earlier. One thing that I would be worried as a Laker fan besides the injury stuff is LeBron James is averaging the lowest points per game through a series since the 2010 finals or 2011 finals. And he's not getting to the rim a lot. And you can visibly see it. Like he's not the same LeBron we're used to. He can still get a fast break dunk, but he's not like imposing his will like we're used to. Most of his shots are still coming from outside. He's still picking his spots, but you're not afforded those spots to be picked whenever the team is missing your other star. And that's probably what would have me worried if I were a Laker fan.
It's going to be one hell of an ending to this series. With this being said, this is one team that I really want to touch on, the Suns, because I personally have felt that the toughest matchup for them would be the Los Angeles Lakers. And if they were able to beat them, they could go as far as they freaking want. Like, I think this team could realistically go to the finals. Do you guys also think that if they're able to beat the Lakers, they can go to the finals as well?
Are we getting into just as far as Phoenix goes?
Just Phoenix, because we know the Lakers are contenders. We know the Clippers are. The Jazz, I think, should be respected as such. I'd say what I want to define as a contender is can they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? So can the
Western Conference, just the
Western Conference, can they make it to their conference?
Possibly get there.
All right, someone I don't know if it's like a lawnmower or whatever.
Oh, my bad. I thought I was on mute there. My kitchen redone right now. Yeah, it's great timing.
No, you're good. You're good.
I personally think the Suns are contenders. I have them in my short list of real contenders. Yes, as long as Chris Paul's healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I say yes. If Chris Paul's shoulder or neck thing gets better throughout the course of a playoffs, then yeah, I think so. Especially when you look at the West, everybody else looks so like questionable. There's no like clear cut team above the rest. So I say yes, but when you look at the landscape of it all.
I'm on the same page, especially when you talk about like who they would have. Let's say they got past the Lakers in this first round, they would get the Nuggets or the Blazers in the second round. So absolutely, they can make it. I think they would be either one of those teams. I mean, the Jokic thing would make me go back and forth a little bit, but I think I would probably still take the Suns there. They're real good. I think I had a lot of questions just of them being able to come out of here, but with this context of AD out, they can really do it, man. They can really just end up getting to the conference finals. I think that would be awesome. As a huge Chris Paul guy, I would love to see that, for him to finally get to a conference finals, put that talk away, and maybe get to the finals. I think that would be incredible.
It's possible. Like, I think they match up stylistically, they match up well with the Clippers if the Clippers were to make it there. And then the Jazz would become interesting. That would be one hell of a series too. But either way, I think it's going to be a great end of the Western Conference. However it turns out, we're going to be analyzing it once round 2 starts and once we have the matchup set. But the Western Conference is going to be super, super interesting. Nuggets, Blazers. I don't really know if I've seen anything that makes me change my opinion. I still have Nuggets in 7, I believe. Really quick, Ariel, who wins that series?
I'm sticking with the Nuggets.
Okay. Alex, who wins that series?
I think I'm going to go with the Nuggets. I had him first. I think I'm going to stick with Jokic pulling it out and pulling the rabbit out the bag, even though the Blazers should be able to take this.
Okay. Marco, Who wins this?
I'm changing my prediction from Blazers in 7 to Blazers in 6.
Wow, so you got them winning 2 straight.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I'm just saying.
That's okay. So we went through it quickly. I guess that's quickly enough. Let's go to the Eastern Conference because the matchups are pretty much set in the second round. You have Bucks Nets, 2 Titans going at it. Like this is just going to be an unbelievable series. It's crazy that we're getting this in the second round and not in the Eastern Conference Finals. But we'll try to go through these relatively quickly. I don't want to take too much of everyone's time here. Ariel, who wins this series between the Bucks and the Nets, assuming the Nets close off the Jason Tatum Celtics?
Assuming that's the matchup we get, I think I want to preface this by saying I think whoever wins that series wins the Eastern Conference and goes to the finals. I don't believe in Philly.
Yes.
I think I'm going to lean Milwaukee here. I think they match up pretty well with Philly. I think with Brooklyn, and I think they could just bludgeon them inside. They have the perimeter defenders to match up really well with Brooklyn's best guys, and so I'm going to go with Milwaukee. They're playing at another level right now.
Spicy.
Marco?
Dang. I think I'll go with the Nets, but this is like a coin flip for me. Like I could be swayed either way, but I think the home court might take into effect that. I think it's going to come down to that Game 7. Like who's going to have the most bucket getters? Because that's been the thing all playoffs, like throughout history. If you can get a guy who can get his own shot, the more guys you have like that, the easier it's going to be for you in close games, close series. Especially with teams like this, I'm just gonna go with probably like a game winner by Kevin Durant in Game 7. That's how close the series. I think
in overtime.
Game 7. Okay.
What a prediction. I love that. It's tough, man. Like I think the Bucks can match up really well with the Nets, but I think I would definitely be swayed to pick the Nets here just because, I think the Bucks are not going to be able to run that drop the way they did against the Heat all series, man. And I know they've been switching more often, but the Nets, I think, will be able to take them out of their comfort zone, and it'll be a really great series. I think it might come down to a Game 7, like Marco said, and I just trust the Nets bucket getters and shot creators a lot more, especially when you got Joe Harris there. Like I just think it's such a hard task to guard these guys, especially in a playoff setting where these guys are on point. I just don't know. I don't know how you guard them, even though you got Drew Holiday, you got Giannis, you got PJ, you got Chris Middleton. Like they've got a lot of great defenders there. I respect them. That's why I think it could go 7 games, but I'm not picking them over, KD, Harden, Kyrie, and what those guys have done and their track record. I mean, look, Harden's is very questionable, I know, but with him as a 2, I'm just not really worried about him choking or whatever because it won't be all on him to create and to score like it was in Houston. I just think, they've got too much to handle. And I understand everybody's worried about, Embiid beating up the Nets. It's not going to happen. The Nets are going to the finals if they beat the Bucks. No belief in the Sixers is what should be taken from this.
Yeah, I think we got that.
0.
Okay, so I think Nets in 6. I just think, Alex, you took my point. Just the way that the Heat weren't able to punish the Nets for playing the drop and for having Brook Lopez just standing under the rim, and he was just stopping Jimmy Butler and Bam from taking attempts at the rim. No one was taking mid-range. The Nets are surgical. The Nets are absolutely surgical in the half court. Like Harden will kill you. He'll have other people kill you. Kyrie and KD can get almost whatever they want against almost anybody. I mean, they're just credit to KD also. I don't know if he was going to be able to come back 100% from his injury. And he's just unbelievable. Like the way he's shooting the ball right now he's so efficient. I think he's taking the third amount of shots on their team. Mm-hmm. And he's just killing it. So credit to KD. He's just been unbelievable. Really love watching him play basketball. Love watching all of them play basketball. People have their problems with Kyrie or whatever it may be. I personally don't care about all that stuff. Kyrie is a joy to watch play basketball. He's unbelievable. Yes, this is going to be an unbelievable series. Would I be surprised if the Bucks won this? No, they're physically a dominant team, but I think the Nets end up winning this series. I still have the Nets winning it all. But I do want to talk Hawks and Sixers because I think this is actually a much more interesting series than people give it credit for. Not saying that the Hawks should win this series, but do you guys think it's realistic to see the Hawks either pushing this to 6 or 7 or actually winning this series?
I'm going to say yes. It's possible that they push it to 6. I don't know about 7. I could see them pushing it to 6, but I don't know why, and I hope to learn as you guys give me your takes on this. I don't know why everybody is kind of pushing the idea that the Hawks might be a team that can really push Philly. I feel like Philly has significant advantages in that matchup. They have really good perimeter defenders. They can put guys like Matisse Thybulle and Ben Simmons on Trae Young, who won't stop him. I don't think you can stop Trae Young. He has too much range and too varied of a bag that he can get to, but they can slow him down. And if you cut off the head of the snake, I realize that the Hawks have a lot of other really good players. Bogdan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, a bunch of other guys who can get buckets for sure. But there's just nobody on that roster who I think can stop Joel Embiid. I think the Sixers have more facets to their game, and so I could see them kind of sixering it, if that's a term, and just giving away a couple games for no real reason. But I think they are the better team, and I think they win that series in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I could see the Sixers winning in 6, unfortunately. I mean, but look, if I had to say a percentage on the Hawks taking it to 7 or winning, I think it would be a little bit higher than I gave them credit for in the beginning of the run. I've just been so impressed with the way that they've been able to keep their composure and just kind of run what they run and get what they want to get against that, fraudulent Knicks defense. But really, I think the Sixers is just a tough matchup, man. They're going to make him pay. They're going to make Trae Young pay, for being on the floor. And I feel like the Knicks haven't done that. And there's just a lot of matchup advantages there. Like, I think Tobias Harris can get going if you just find a way to get Trae Young switched on to him. Like, maybe Ben Simmons will be able to take him to the rim and actually be aggressive there. But again, I just don't really trust them to do that over a whole series. I think it could be a really competitive one. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a lot of close games, just because I don't know, man. You know me, I just don't have a lot of trust in the Sixers offense down the stretch. And I wonder what Nate McMillan is going to do on the defensive end, just because it feels like it's a really weird matchup because of the size. I wonder what they're going to try to do. I really want to pick the Hawks here, but I'm going to say Sixers in 6.
Sixers in 6. I was actually going to go with the same.
They're going to get the freaking cakewalk to the conference finals relative to other people. I'm pissed about that. Oh, the process worked. I'm not looking forward to this.
I have the Sixers in 6 too. Like Alex was saying, like the percentage changed for me the more I saw the Hawks in the playoffs. There was a stat that ESPN put up. They were second in defensive ratings since Nate McMillan took over, which took me back. Wow. They've only lost 2 games with Nate McMillan as their head, 2 home games with Nate as their head coach. Like, that's insane. Like, I think they're gonna push them to 6. I'm guessing it'll be a 2-2, and then Philly takes the last 2 because I think they'll figure out how to stop the Hawks enough, because the Hawks offense is like elite. Like, you can't. This is like a type of offense you try to just hope they miss. Like, that's what the Knicks tried to do the first few games, because the Hawks were missing open shots like left and right, and they still kicked their butts the last few games. So it didn't really matter because they started hitting their threes. I think the Sixers are going to do enough defense. I think the Hawks offense just will get shut down just a little bit, and I think that's going to be enough because it's the playoffs and stuff gets really tight, and the less stuff you have a less margin for error, and I think the Hawks are going to have the smaller margin, and the Sixers have more elite guys like to take over, like Embiid. He's like the best player in the series. There's a saying you say, if you have the best player in the series, you're going to take it. You're going to take that team all day, except maybe last year for a lot of series, but we won't get into that. But yeah, I think the Sixers probably take this in 6 from my early viewing. But I think it's going to be more fun than I would have thought before the playoffs started.
I think I could see this going Sixers in 5. I could see it going Hawks in 6. Like, I could see it going either way, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. The Hawks just have a recipe that is just really tough to defend. Like you said, Marco, I mean, they have elite pull-up shooting. They have an elite creator in Trae Young, and they have guys who can score in the 3-point range, or they can score in the mid-range. And surprisingly enough, the Sixers have been horrible at defending the paint through these 4 games with Washington. I think that's been a big takeaway. They've allowed 76% of their attempts at the rim, Washington's attempts, to be converted. Like, they're shooting 76% at the rim. That is not good enough. And I understand a lot of that could be attributed to Joel Embiid's only playing like 28 minutes, whatever. I think it's a noisy stat. But also, Washington is shooting about 26% from three, and that is something that the Hawks will not be doing. So if the Sixers are going to be giving up three-point attempts, then you maybe overcompensate. You start giving up mid-range. The Hawks can kill you there. And then if you're just not playing good rim defense, there's a recipe for the Hawks to be able to make this series go longer than it should. I'm super excited. Like you said, Embiid the best player in the series, so I expect the Sixers to win this. I'll probably go Sixers in 6 as well. But it's just – I think the Hawks are going to be a problem this year for the Sixers and then a problem moving forward. Like, credit to them the way that they've done things. But if they're able to limit Tobias Harris, like I think you have to put DeAndre Hunter on him instead of John Collins. I'm not really sure what you do with Collins. Maybe you put him on Simmons. But if they're able to limit Tobias Harris, this is one hell of a series.
Another thing that could sway people, like if you're a betting person, to say this series goes 7 is Doc Rivers teams historically let teams go 7 games. Like, when you look at the past 10 years, it's 7-game series almost all the time.
And I guess we have disrespected the Knicks a little bit by not considering the fact that they could come back from 3-1. I don't think that's going to happen. If that happens, then we will reassess and reevaluate. But I think it's Hawks in 5 or 6 at this point.
Shit ain't happening. Shit ain't happening, man. They're loading the hell up on Julius Randle, and he is not – I don't think he's good enough to just get past
He's throwing elbows now. He's just getting dangerous out there.
They don't got enough outside of him to push through, I don't think.
Wow, sounds like another team I know.
Oh, man. You just compared them to the
no culture corner today. All culture references have been postponed until further notice.
Yeah, no culture till next season, I think.
Not even. I don't even know. I mean, if you run it back, do we still have culture? I don't know. You just have overpaid culture.
No. I mean, if they run it back, no culture. That's
they're not running it back, so we don't have to have that discussion. They better
hopefully
not.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page there.
So we're gonna have a ton of off-season talk. I think as we move closer to that, like once the playoffs are actually done, I want to keep analyzing whatever's going on. So once the round 1 matchups are done and we're moving into round 2, we'll be having another full court press, maybe with Alex, maybe not with Alex. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe I didn't do great. It wasn't great. I would reconsider bringing me back.
We're gonna run it back with Alex. We'll run it back. So that'll work. But anyways, thank you guys in the comments for tuning in. Christian Cardus, Ariel just actually let me know that you had a donation. So we're going to get to that one real quick. Getting spammed by Bubble Guppy intro. Send help. Yeah, the heater Bubble Guppies. Nothing they can do about it now. Go fishing.
Oh my! I think that's a kid's show. I think he's stuck with his kids. Then
yeah. I'm sick.
Can't even say anything about it, man.
We deserve to get roasted.
I mean, you let them. God, let me stop.
We'll go for another half hour.
It's just I could talk about the Heat for 3 years, but we won't
get mad. I'm gonna get mad.
There's going to be Heat.
Captain Heat.
Yes, there's going to be Heat specific full court press episodes. Maybe we'll start sprinkling them in through the playoffs because I'm honestly itching to get back to talking about the Heat, but we're not there.
God, please no.
So
stop it, Manny.
We'll postpone all Heat propaganda and whatnot.
End up throwing the renegade chair and losing the sponsorship. It's not going to go well.
But I guess that's it.
Yep.
Thank you guys in the comments. Thank you, Manny, in the background. Thank you, Ariel, Alex, Marco. Have a good night, everybody. Manny, play the video.